These machines didn't just move dirt, they moved mountains, built the Hoover Dam, helped finish the Golden Gate Bridge, and powered a world war. Before GPS, before computers, before automation, raw iron, diesel thunder, and sheer mechanical brute force rewrote civilization. These are the 10 most powerful vintage Caterpillar machines ever built, and their stories will leave your jaw on the ground. Number 10. Caterpillar 60, 1925-1931. We start our list at the very beginning of the Caterpillar company itself. When Holt and Best merged in 1925, one of the most significant machines they brought to the new company was the Best 60 track layer, a machine that had first been sold in 1919 and would be rebranded after the merger as the iconic Caterpillar 60. The Caterpillar 60 was, without question, one of the most successful track-type tractors the company ever produced. It was powered by a 4-cylinder valve-in-head engine producing around 60 drawbar horsepower, hence the name. For the era, that was enormous. This was a machine built to handle the kind of agricultural and grading work that horses and steam engines had struggled with. But what made the Caterpillar 60 truly legendary wasn't just its power, it was its versatility and reliability in extreme conditions. In 1919, the machine made history when Caterpillar produced the first tractor to climb Pikes Peak in Colorado, reaching the summit at 14,109 feet above sea level. That's not a stunt, that's a demonstration of what these machines could endure. The Caterpillar 60 helped build early American road infrastructure. It worked on farms across the country. It was exported overseas. And its engineering innovations, including its robust track system and engine design, formed the direct genetic foundation of every Caterpillar dozer that came after it. The 60 remained in production until 1931, and its DNA can still be found in modern cat dozers today. That's how foundational this machine was. Number 9. Caterpillar D8, 1935 onwards. If the Caterpillar 60 was the grandfather, then the D8 was the machine that turned Caterpillar into a global empire. Introduced in 1935, the D8 was the result of Caterpillar's transition to diesel power, a shift that would change the entire heavy equipment industry. In 1931, Caterpillar had perfected the diesel-powered tractor, and diesel engines soon became the standard for all types of heavy-duty vehicles worldwide. The D8 was the largest and most powerful expression of that diesel revolution. When it launched in 1935, the D8 weighed 33,110 pounds. The transmission gearbox alone weighed 3,100 pounds. It was more than 15 feet long and 8 feet wide, and it delivered power that no competitor could match at the time. By 1954, nearly 2 decades after its introduction, the D8 was still in production at Caterpillar's flagship factory in East Foria, Illinois. At that point, it was delivering 150 horsepower at the drawbar, which was 55 more horsepower than the original 1935 model. The machine had grown too. By the time the next generation D8H was unveiled in 1958, it had grown to 21 feet in length and weighed more than 70,000 pounds. During a 16-year production window, nearly 50,000 of these machines were built. Let those numbers sink in. 50,000 machines, nearly one every single day for 16 years. The D8 built World War II infrastructure. Caterpillar machines helped construct more than 70,000 miles of highways across the United States. The U.S. military used the D8 and its predecessor, the D7, across every theater of the war, from island hopping in the Pacific to road building in Europe. From 1942 to 1945, Caterpillar ran its factories 7 days a week and doubled its workforce to produce approximately 51,000 track-type tractors for the military. The D8 was at the heart of that war effort. This machine didn't just build roads, it built the modern world. Number 8. Caterpillar. Number 583. Pipelayer, 1955. By 1955, America was hungry for pipelines. The post-war industrial boom had created an explosive demand for oil, gas, and water transportation infrastructure, and the pipeline industry was scrambling to keep up. What they needed was a purpose-built machine that could handle the weight, the precision, and the sheer scale of laying massive underground pipes across hundreds of miles. Caterpillar answered that call on January 16, 1955, when they unveiled the number 583 Pipelayer at the National Convention of Pipeline Contractors in Los Angeles, before an audience of 200 of the industry's most experienced professionals. This was not just another tractor attachment. The number 583 was a completely new, integrated and balanced machine, designed from the ground up to do one job and to do it better than anything else on Earth. As Caterpillar's former sales manager W.K. Cox put it, it was 100% Pipelayer. The specifications were staggering for 1955. The 583 weighed 39 tons. It had a 20-foot boom capable of cradling 700 to 800 feet of pipe at one time on level ground. It had a lifting capacity of 130,000 pounds, the largest of any Pipelayer in the field at the time, and a full 5,000 pounds more than any competing machine. Its purpose-built Cat engine delivered 190 horsepower at 1,200 RPM. Before the 583 was officially unveiled, it completed severe field testing on a pipeline operation in Kansas, where it replaced two smaller Pipelayers and laid 24 miles of pipe in just 4 weeks. The machine's power and capacity was so decisive that it effectively made every competing design obsolete overnight. It also supported a 10,000-pound doping machine, a device for weatherizing the pipe, and pulled a 23-barrel dope pot and supply shed at the same time. This was a machine that could do the work of an entire pipelaying crew in a single integrated unit. The number 583 opened the door for the modern pipelining industry and established a lineage of Cat Pipelayers that continues to this day. Number 7. Caterpillar 657 Wheel Tractor Scraper, 1960s-1980s. If bulldozers define power, scrapers define efficiency. And no vintage scraper in history was more powerful or more productive than the Caterpillar 657 series. The concept of the wheel tractor scraper is brilliant in its simplicity. Rather than digging material out and loading it into a separate truck, the scraper cuts into the earth, loads itself, carries the material, and dumps it, all in a single machine, all in one pass. It's the most cost-effective method of moving large volumes of earth over medium distances, and it remains so today. The 657 series was the king of that category. The most celebrated vintage version, the 657E, introduced in 1984, was a genuinely extraordinary machine. It was powered by two separate diesel engines, a 550 horsepower Cat 3412E engine at the front and a 400 horsepower Cat 3408E engine at the rear. Total combined power, 950 horsepower from a single machine. That is not a typo, 950 horsepower. The 657E was rated to carry 32 cubic yards of material struck and 44 cubic yards heaped. To put that in perspective, that's the equivalent of loading a small house's worth of earth into a machine, carrying it across a job site, and dumping it over and over and over again. The 657 also featured an optional push-pull arrangement that allowed multiple machines to hook up and load each other, dramatically increasing production efficiency on large earth-moving projects. The machine featured an 8-speed automatic transmission with individual clutch modulation, hydraulic servo steering, and Caterpillar's legendary cushion hitch to absorb the punishment of rough-haul roads. Even today, approaching 40 years old, many 657E machines can still be found working at mines and construction sites around the globe. That's the legacy of a machine built to last. Number 6. Caterpillar 992 Wheel Loader, 1968. In 1968, Caterpillar released a machine that fundamentally changed the economics of mining and quarry operations. The Cat 992 Wheel Loader was, at its introduction, unlike anything the industry had ever seen. When the original 992 rolled out of the factory with its 10 cubic yard bucket and payload capacity of 15 tons, it nearly doubled the capacity of Caterpillar's previous largest wheel loader, the 988. It was also almost twice the weight, tipping the scales at 60.25 tons in operating condition. This wasn't an incremental improvement, it was a generational leap, but Caterpillar didn't stop there. The 992 series kept improving. The 992C, released in 1977, is widely considered one of the finest wheel loaders ever designed. It was powered by a turbocharged V12 Model 3412 diesel engine, producing 690 flywheel horsepower. A completely redesigned Z-bar linkage replaced the earlier 8-bar system, making the machine dramatically more effective at digging into hard material. The 992C could load a 50-ton capacity truck in just 3 passes. Its bucket capacity had grown to 12.5 cubic yards, carrying 37,000 pounds of material per load. Operating weight had climbed to 94 tons. Caterpillar also introduced the electronic monitoring system on the 992C, allowing operators to track critical machine systems, a revolutionary development in 1977. The 992 series became the standard against which all large wheel loaders in the world were measured. It was used in open-pit mines, quarries, and heavy construction projects across every continent, and it remains in production today in updated form, a lineage now over 55 years strong. Number 5. Caterpillar D9H, 1974. The Caterpillar D9 series is one of the most storied product lines in construction equipment history, and the D9H, introduced in 1974, holds a very special place in that history. Even to this day, the D9H is recognized as the most powerful conventional track-type tractor ever built by Caterpillar in the traditional D9 configuration. Let that sit with you. The D9H, a machine from 1974, is still the most powerful conventional D9 in history, more than 50 years after its introduction. The D9H produced 410 horsepower and replaced the earlier D9G. It was built to work in the most demanding applications on Earth: mining, forestry, demolition, large-scale construction, and waste management. The machine could be fitted with a massive dozer blade at the front, available in straight, universal, and semi-universal configurations, and an optional ripper assembly at the rear, capable of tearing apart solid rock, breaking frozen ground, and excavating ditches without the need for explosives. The U.S. Army used D9 bulldozers to clear forests during the Vietnam War. The Israeli Defense Forces adopted the D9 for combat engineering missions. So effective was this machine as a military tool that the IDF operated armored versions of the D9 into the 21st century. The D9H also spawned 2 extreme variants. The D9H, which coupled 2 D9H tractors together for push-loading the largest wheel tractor scrapers, generated a combined 820 horsepower from a single articulated unit. Then there was the side-by-side D9H, 2 D9H machines mounted together sharing a massive 24-foot wide dozer blade, operated by a single driver from the left unit. These were extraordinary machines for coal stripping, reclamation, and mass earth-moving applications. The D9H represented the absolute pinnacle of what Caterpillar's conventional track-type tractor technology could achieve in the 1970s. Number 4. Caterpillar D9L, 1980. In 1977, Caterpillar introduced a revolutionary engineering concept on its new D10 bulldozer, the elevated drive sprocket undercarriage system, also known as the high drive. This design lifted the drive sprocket up and off the ground, separating the suspension from the drivetrain, reducing shock loads on the final drives, and giving the machine's belly pan greater ground clearance. It was a genuine engineering marvel. By 1980, Caterpillar brought that same high drive technology to the D9 series in the form of the D9L, and the result was the most powerful and heaviest D9 ever built. The D9L was powered by a Cat 3412 turbocharged V12 direct injection diesel engine with an engine displacement of 1,649 cubic inches. That's 27 liters. It produced 460 flywheel horsepower. Its operating weight was 111,910 pounds in its bulldozer configuration, making it the heaviest D9 in the history of the model. With a full fuel load, that weight climbed further still, with a fuel tank capacity of 255 gallons. The D9L was the first variation of the D9 series to feature the elevated drive sprocket design, and it brought this innovation to the most widely used large dozer in the world's arsenal. The result was a machine with improved traction, better ride quality for operators, reduced component wear, and dramatically longer undercarriage life. The D9L remained in production from 1980 until 1987, when it was replaced by the D10N, a renaming and rescaling that reflected Caterpillar's adjustment of its large bulldozer lineup. The D9L, in other words, was so powerful that its successor was given the D10 designation. To this day, the D9L holds the record as the most powerful D9 in Caterpillar history. Number 3. Caterpillar D10, 1977. And now we arrive at one of the most significant moments in Caterpillar's entire history. In the fall of 1977, at a dealer meeting, Caterpillar unveiled a machine unlike anything the world had ever seen, a bulldozer so far beyond the competition that it had no direct rival. This was the Caterpillar D10. The development of the D10 had begun in secret in 1973. The first prototype, designated D10X1, was shown at a major corporate meeting in July 1973. More prototypes followed in 1975. By March 1977, 10 pre-production machines designated P1 through P10 were dispatched to different job sites around the country for real-world testing. Then, in the fall of 1977, the D10 was presented to Caterpillar dealers. The reaction was one of shock. The D10 was powered by a 1,786 cubic inch V12 twin-turbocharged D348 engine, an engine that had already proven itself in Caterpillar's 777 off-highway hauler and in the massive 992 and 992B wheel loaders. In the D10, it produced 700 flywheel horsepower. To put this in context, Caterpillar's full bulldozer lineup at the time ranged from the 62 horsepower D3 at the small end up to the 410 horsepower D9H at the large end. The D10 added 700 horsepower to the top of that lineup. Nothing else was even close. The D10 also debuted the elevated drive sprocket, the high drive undercarriage, bringing that revolutionary engineering to the world's largest production bulldozer. Between 1978 and 1986, nearly 1,000 D10 machines were built at Caterpillar's East Peoria, Illinois plant. The D10 outsold the combined sales of Fiatalis and Komatsu competitive-sized bulldozers for much of its production run. The early D10s came with a single large black exhaust stack at the front. However, engine problems related to exhaust routing led Caterpillar to redesign the system, and from 1980 onward, the D10 featured 2 exhaust stacks, a distinctive visual that made these machines instantly recognizable on any job site. The D10 was large enough to do about 50% more production than the D9H. It fundamentally changed what a single machine could accomplish in a working day. It was used in open-pit mines, massive earth-moving projects, and on the largest construction jobs in the world. In 1986, the D10 was replaced by a new, even more powerful machine, but we'll get to that. First, there are 2 more machines on this list. Number 2, Caterpillar 992, C-wheel loader in mining configuration, 1977. Wait, we actually need to revisit one more extraordinary vintage machine before number 1. Before we get to the absolute top of our list, it's worth pausing to look at how the 992C operated in its ultimate configuration. Paired with Caterpillar's mighty off-highway haul trucks in open-pit mining operations during the late 1970s and 1980s. By the time the 992C was paired with a 777 or 789 haul truck, Caterpillar had created a production system that was redefining what open-pit mining could accomplish. The 992C's 690 horsepower V12 engine, Z-bar linkage, and 12.5 cubic yard bucket capacity allowed it to load a 50-ton truck in just 3 passes. Then the truck would drive away, and the 992C would already be loading the next one. This machine was also the first to receive the Caterpillar electronic monitoring system, allowing operators to monitor critical machine vitals in real time. An idea so far ahead of its time in 1977 that most of the industry didn't catch up for another decade. What makes the 992C a number 2 contender on this list isn't just raw horsepower, it's the total system performance. A single 992C operator working a full shift could move more earth than dozens of smaller machines working together. That's what power really means on a job site. Not just what a machine can do in one lift, but what it can do continuously, hour after hour, day after day, year after year. Many 992C units continued to work productively for 30 or 40 years after their manufacture. That's a vintage machine earning its place at number 2 through sheer productivity legacy. Number 1. Caterpillar D11N, 1986. There was only one place this list could end. In 1986, Caterpillar introduced the D11N, the successor to the D10, and in doing so created the most powerful production bulldozer the company had ever made at that time. This was the machine that defined the phrase "large dozer" for an entire generation of mining professionals. The numbers are staggering. The D11N was powered by a 2,105 cubic inch, 34.49-liter displacement V8 3508 diesel engine rated at 770 horsepower. Let that sink in, 770 horsepower from a single bulldozer. For context, that's more power than many locomotives of the era. The D11N weighed 204,517 pounds in operating condition. That's over 102 tons. It stood taller than a 2-story building. Its blade, in standard configuration, could push enormous quantities of earth with every pass, and the machine's improvements over the D10 made it more than 10% more productive than its already dominant predecessor. The D11N was introduced with a full package of refined features. It retained and improved the high-drive elevated sprocket system from the D10. It featured a modular design philosophy that made components easier to service and replace in the field, a critical advantage when your machine costs millions of dollars and operates in remote mines far from service centers. The D11N could also be equipped with a single or multi-shank ripper at the rear, capable of shattering solid rock faces that would stop lesser machines completely. These dozers worked in the largest open-pit mines on Earth: copper mines in Chile, coal mines in Australia, iron ore operations in Brazil, and limestone quarries across North America. Wherever massive volumes of earth needed to be moved, the D11N was the machine doing the work. It was eventually succeeded by the D11R in 1996, which initially produced 770 horsepower and was later upgraded to 850 horsepower. But the D11N was the original, the machine that broke the ceiling and established what a production bulldozer could truly be. The D11N wasn't just the most powerful vintage Caterpillar bulldozer, it was the most powerful production bulldozer of any manufacturer in the world at the time of its release. A defining machine. A true number 1. If you made it this far, you clearly love the history of heavy equipment as much as we do. Drop a comment below which vintage Cat machine would you have wanted to operate. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe because we cover the history of the world's greatest machines, and we're just getting started.